Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Here we are once again, ready to enjoy some headlines from our city, our state, and our country, ready to take in all your wonderful comments and ideas and suggestions, and of course, ready to combine all this information so we can have an amazing life here in Puerto Vallarta, connecting with one another as a community of English-speaking locals. My name is Paco, but I think you already know that. And it is a pleasure to see you. Today is Wednesday, January 11th. The summit has come and gone. The presidents are back to their usual behavior and business and whatever. And we have all kinds of news that we have to share this morning. And but before we do that, I want to let you know that you are so welcome to let us know if you are new to this broadcast or new to watching live. If that is the case, feel free to write the word new in your comment, and we'll give you a nice little welcome. Otherwise, or also, rather, if you have something truly important to share this morning, please write a capital letter Q at the beginning of your comment so we won't miss it later on in the chit chat section. Today, we have all kinds of news about airport, about presidents, about another outing this Friday night that you may want to consider. A local hero gets an award, not local from Puerto Vallarta, but still an important award was granted. And we are being invaded by mapaches or raccoons. I also have a photograph to show you that describes an innovative way to make sure that you don't lose your parking spot. And I think that's pretty much the gist of what we're going to do today. So grab your cup of coffee and let's get this started. We know that Puerto Vallarta's International Airport is scheduled to add a brand new terminal to its facility. What we didn't know is that the investment required to do so stands among the highest of all airports in the country, according to information provided by the Federal Secretary of Infrastructure, Communications, and Transportation. This is largely due to the fact that our airport, among other 12 or 13 airports in the country, is overseen by a conglomerate called Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacífico, which is the Pacific Airport Group. This is a large agency that manages a number of airports, and they have earmarked 12,000 million pesos for improvements in the terminals that they manage. And these improvements are going to be executed by way of expansion projects between now and 2025. And specifically in this news note, we learn that the new airport terminal here in Puerto Vallarta will be built this coming year, or rather, it will be built this year. It will increase capacity by 165% and will be ready in 2024. In other airport related news, we've read a number of times that the Tepic airport, Tepic being the capital of the state of Nayarit, is also currently undergoing an expansion. And we've read that the Nayarit government is betting on this new airport to draw in a competitive number of foreign tourists to the region. However, Luis Villaseñor Nolasco, who oversees Puerto Vallarta's Tourism Bureau, indicated that the expanded Tepic Airport will not affect us in terms of tourist arrivals and that it will most likely serve other oceanfront destinations located further north in the state of Nayarit. And when you think of it, it really makes sense because if you were to take a bus or drive between Puerto Vallarta and Nayarit, and Tepic rather, it takes over 2 hours to get there. So who would want to fly into Puerto Vallarta by way of an airport such that when you land and you go through customs, if you're an international traveler, you then have to drive an additional 2.5 hours to get to our bay. So more than likely, the new airport or the expanded airport in Tepic will serve northern destinations. But of course, Nayarit's governor, he loves the competition. He loves to tout the fact that, we won't need Jalisco anymore and so forth and so on. But I don't want to make things up. I'm just extrapolating from information that I've read. Moving right along, the try saying that word early in the morning. The Trilateral North American Summit is now over, and the three leaders, Biden, Lopez Obrador, and Trudeau, offered a joint message to announce the topics and agreements covered during the event, most of which have to do with increasing technology at the borders to detect vehicles carrying drugs and concealed people, as in people trafficking, and also issues related to energy and clean energy specifically. We are true partners, said President Joe Biden, working together with mutual respect and genuine affection for a more secure and prosperous future for our people. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Trudeau emphasized the importance, as I said a second ago, of implementing clean energy sources in the three countries to counteract climate change as a united front. And that is the end of the summit. I'm sure we will continue to read about the meeting that they had in the next few days. And this is, of course, also the end of our serious news. Let us jump into the weather just to see what we can expect for the second half of the week, and we'll take it from there. Oh, I used to do that. I wonder if I can incinerate a human with a giant magnifying lens. Well, I never incinerated humans, but I remember as a young boy being not very kind to ants with a magnifying glass. It's 24 degrees Celsius right now. It's 75 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Humidity is at 40%. And our weather forecast, we love 40%, don't we? Our weather forecast for today, it's going to be a clear day with a high of 28 and a low of 18. And then on Thursday, tomorrow, another clear day with a high of 29 and a low of 19. And Friday, clear through the day with a high of 30 and a low of 19. And we are particularly excited about Friday being a clear day and a comfortable day because we have just read in Banderas News, no less, that Galeria Dante has announced another meet and greet event with the artists that they represent to take place this coming Friday, January 13th. That's Friday the 13th. But remember, Friday the 13th doesn't count in Mexico, so you have nothing to fear. That's just a north of the border situation. For us, it's Tuesday the 13th that gets us all worked up. Anyhow, this meet and greet will take place at Galeria Dante this coming Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. This is the first one that they have for the year. And a number of artists represented by the gallery are usually present for art lovers to get to know and mingle with. These events are usually a great time to make a stop on the way to dinner or a show in the neighborhood. So if you find yourself in that neck of the woods, please consider stopping by Galeria Dante. It's one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful, art gallery in the city. And when I say beautiful, I mean with the variety of artists that they represent, which is absolutely outstanding, and it cannot be paralleled by any other galleries. Moving right along, we have again, as I mentioned, one of Jalisco's own is a proud winner. The state of Jalisco is proud of one of its own this morning, with renowned film director Guillermo del Toro winning the Golden Globe for Best Animated Picture for his film Pinocchio last night. The director accepted the award, adding that the film was one of his most ambitious to date, and emphasizing that animation is cinema and not necessarily only for children, going as far as inviting those present to watch the film and maybe, just maybe, consider having children by their side or by your side. And it's worth mentioning a little bit of background controversy with Pinocchio. As you know, Mexican film chains like Cinepolis or the other one are more inclined to bring commercially successful films to the screen. You know, a lot of films that you think are going to be wonderful are snubbed by local film cinema chains because they need to make some money, or they think they want to make some money. And unfortunately, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was one of the films that was snubbed in Mexico by the cinema chains. He had to put a lot of pressure unsuccessfully to get the film screened, and the film ended up going directly to Netflix. This is a stop motion animation film, which is a very slow and painstakingly detailed technique, as you know, and it is definitely something that you may want to consider. I actually last night watched the Golden Globes live, thanks to one of Todd Friedman's wonderful more television channels than God Sticks, and it was a fun watch. It was a fun watch because I don't get to watch television from the United States frequently, and much less with television commercials. And oh my God, commercials have gotten so crazy north of the border. I mean, I don't remember seeing so many commercials on television by pharmaceutical companies in the past. And maybe those of you that are watching north of the border are numb to them. But for me, they all follow this cookie cutter formula in which you have a very smooth voice first telling you about how you should live freely from depression, or from your symptoms from menopause, or from this, that, and the other. And this very sexy voice tells you about the new medication. But then the same sexy voice, the same smooth voice, starts sharing this laundry list of side effects. If your left eye socket pops out, if your nose disappears altogether, if you start shitting blue. I mean, these commercials are absolutely terrifying. I mean, they're worse than the worst horror films you could possibly watch. I learned more about menopause symptoms last night than I think I ever cared to know. But that's just me. But other than that, watching the show was a lot of fun. And learning about what to do to prevent my nose from falling off the face of my face. It was amazing. Oh dear. Moving right along, after that nightmare was over, talk about eerie. Check out this eerie photograph. We can see pairs of eyes staring intently at the camera. As it turns out, a bunch of mapaches, or raccoons in English, have settled in the neighborhood of Los Mangos near La Comer and can be spotted roaming around the trash at night. They are known for frantically searching for food in the trash and creating a mess as they do. It is worth remembering that raccoons are commonly found in this part of Mexico, and certainly found in the city surroundings and common green areas. And while they may have been a source of admiration for those living around Los Mangos for some time, they do reproduce quickly. and as many as 60 have been seen together by people walking around Los Mangos late at night. The good news is that they don't attack humans unless they are provoked. So if you happen to live near the vicinity of Los Mangos Library and you hear rustling in the dark, it is the mapaches, the raccoons going at it. And I am reading some of your comments about the medication commercials, and you guys are making me laugh inside. It's so funny. But I mean, it was such, uh, I mean, it was crazy. It was just crazy to watch. Admittedly, I was a little stoned, and so this is something that really, I mean, I was just watching, and I found myself, having to get up because I didn't want to know about all those symptoms. I mean, how can you be a hypochondriac living in the United States anymore with those commercials? Jesus. But what do I know? Maybe you're just used to that and just block them off your consciousness, and maybe it's part of your vernacular experience. And vernacular is my segue to once again tell you that the cat is out of the bag. My first lecture in over 3 years is coming, and it is not about music. For a change, I always lecture about music. This time around, we're gonna warm up the room with Adventures in Vernacular Spanish. This will be an opportunity to take a look at some interesting facts about the Spanish language. We'll look at Spanish words that have permeated other languages and vice versa. We will offer a choice of delicious expressions commonly used here in Mexico, some of which, as I mentioned before, may make your Spanish instructor blush. And of course, we're also going to talk about Spanish words that are completely harmless when spoken out loud here in Mexico, but can get you into trouble in other Spanish speaking countries. And let's see. Oh, I have one more thing to share before we go into our comment section. As you know, this is something I spotted this past Monday night when I went to Encanto. As you know, locals are in such a habit of marking their parking spots on the street and usually use things like old chairs or chingaderas of one kind or another. Of course, this is completely not kosher, but a lot of locals want to make sure that when they come back from work, they find a parking spot near their front door. And Monday, I was hanging out with Eric prior to the Gura Gabor event, and we went to get something from his car, which was parked in a parking lot around the corner from the Joint Co-working Hotel. And I spotted a new item I had never seen used before to reserve a parking spot. And it is this, an old, filthy toilet. Fortunately, it was not filthy with you know what. It was just dirty, but I just had to take a photograph of it, and I thought you'd get a kick out of that. And boom, bim, bim, bam, 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 and that is going to be the cover for today's show notes. In case you figure out why is Paco showing us a dirty toilet, it's because it's part of the local vernacular, I suppose. And with that, let us take a quick look at your comments and see what everybody is up to this lovely morning. I see a lot of good mornings as always, and that makes us very, very happy. Let's see. Pirim pam pum. Hello, Christoph, my dear friend Chris from the Secret Wine Bar. I just love it there. And every time I see you, I get thirsty. Oh, the Secret Wine Bar. Friends, if you haven't been, please, and if you enjoy wine, but even if you don't enjoy wine, they make some delicious cocktails as well. Oh my goodness, Sherry has made it a personal mission to meet as many cluster members as possible. And this morning she's hanging out with Albert. Well, first of all, Albert, I'm so glad you made it into town safely. And I look forward to seeing you at the meet and greet, which, as you know, is going to take place this coming January the 20th at Whiskey Kitchen, which reminds me we are going to send hugs and good vibes um, to Gina, who had to travel north of the border because a family member is not doing so well. So send a lot of good vibes to Gina if you can, and and thank you for making a point to get to know one another better. This just makes me so very proud of this community that you've created. Let's see what else we have. Doody doody doo. Doug is overlooking Los Muertos Beach. That is wonderful. That would be a happy day for me too. How fun. Let's see what else we have. Oh, the bad weather is still prevailing in California. I hope it goes away sometime soon. It's cold, well, wet, and still COVID-y here in Oakland. Oh, Kathy, I hope you and your better half get to continue healing and continue recovering from COVID. I really, really do. Let's see. Betsy went looking for Michelle Legrand. Michelle Legrand. Clips this morning. Michelle Legrand. Yes, of course. The composer. Let's see what else we have. But why do I think his name is not Michel Legrand? See, I'm having a pothead moment. This is what happens. Kathy says, totally agree regarding pharmaceutical commercials. They should be banned from TV. Well, they just make me so paranoid. This is horrible. Mateo in Mexico City watched my version of Beautiful Girls for Gouda show. It's one of my favorite Sondheim songs. Arriving tomorrow early afternoon with 5 friends from high school. Can you believe it? At last. I can't believe it, and I look forward to connecting with you, Mateo, and talking about all kinds of musical things. And of course, his name is Michel Legrand. Don't mind me. My mind works in funny ways. Your comments on commercials are priceless. Well, I mean, they must audition like smooth voices, both male and female voices, to tell these commercials. But how soothing can you be when you're going to tell, if you take these pills, you are possibly going to die? Ew. Hey. Let's see. Dave adds, and the names they use, like Dupixent, which is for something but sounds like it's for nasal condition. Well, yeah, the names of the medications are very, very strange, but they're also strange in Spanish, I will say. When you go to the generic drugstores, and I should make a point to look at some of those strange generic names in Mexico drugs. One of my favorite ones is when I want to take a sleeping pill, I buy one that is called Groovy. Grobee, which makes you feel all groovy, if you catch my drift. Let's see. There's a cue here. It's for that very reason I cannot watch commercial television. Well, I will say, Bill, that the only time I am curious about commercial television from Mexico or elsewhere is when I am staying at hotels, because I am intrigued to see what's going on and what commercials look like. I never watch television with commercials anymore. So last night was a lovely exception, and it was fascinating. It was just fascinating. Logan reports that Chancla, one of his dogs, almost got into it with some Mapaches one late night stroll through the dog park in Puerto de Luna. Oh, well, I can imagine there would be a lot of them over there. And there's a cue here. Paco, is it possible to video your lecture and have us pay for view? As a matter of fact, it is possible, and I'm trying to look at the logistics of that and see if we can do this. Of course, this will be easy in a language lecture because it will not contain any copyright music. So let me see what we can do about that, and I will keep you posted about this. And Ronald shares, I love this pun. I don't give a shit. It's my parking spot. I love that. Oh my goodness. Um, Todd, I am happy or I hope you're enjoying Mexico City. Again, it's thanks to your wonderful sticks that have more television channels than God that I was able to find out what kind of side effects are going to kill me if I take certain drugs from the United States. Uh, yes, name tags would be wonderful for the meet and greet, and I will make it a point to bring some this time around. Thank you very much for the reminder, Doug. I will make that so this time around. Um, and Gwen says she is living vicariously through my brother Albert while I'm stuck in cold Northridge. Well, Gwen, hopefully you'll get a chance to come back to Puerto Vallarta sometime soon. And with that said, my friends, we reached the end of your comments. We reached the end of the broadcast and another opportunity to connect with one another and to connect with our destination. I am wondering if, this being the beginning of the year, if it's time for another survey of topics. We have a general good idea, and let me tell you, if this is something that you think we should be doing, add the word topics as a comment. And what I mean by doing, I mean maybe it is time to once again do a general survey of the kinds of things we talk about here at Coffee and Headlines, things that you would like to hear more about, things that you would like to hear less about. We haven't done a big topic survey in some time, and I just want to make sure that we are still aiming for the kind of things that you want to learn more about. So between now and when I get done saying goodbye, if topics are important to you, please just write that word in the comment and I will put something together to explore either during the live broadcast or we will send a survey separately. And I see topics and I see a T, so I will start thinking about that. But first, let us go and enjoy the day. I will be back tomorrow with more coffee, headlines, and stories, and maybe even more raccoons. Have an awesome Wednesday, and I will see you again soon.